Blessings and welcome to the path to freedom, this beautiful path where we continuously, as I like to say, get to set ourselves free from fear and from worry and from doubt and from a sense of not being enough, a sense of lack and scarcity, a sense of separation, all these small and limited thought patterns, perceptions, opinions, judgments, beliefs, stories. The path where we get to set ourselves free to be in ever expanding love and joy and peace and harmony and wholeness and abundance. The path where we get to set ourselves free to forever allow for greater and grander expressions of who and what we are to emerge. Always from within, never from without. So my name is Daniel Roquillo, and I'm very, very, very grateful that you're choosing to tune in, that you are choosing to join me as we are moving into a space of exploration and a space of expanding our consciousness and raising our vibration. So thank you so much. The topic for today is even more is required of us. Even more is required of us. And this topic came to me this morning as I was driving. I was in my car and I was just contemplating, letting my mind roam free, thinking about these last couple of weeks, which have been quite intense in terms of the expansion that is happening. I caught something a couple of weeks ago that I said yes to, and what I caught was the next iteration, the next expression of how I am to be of service. And as is my habit, as is my practice, whenever I catch guidance, I listen and I obey. So I was gonna say that I immediately said yes to it. I did not. There was some resistance. There was some egoic excuses. And I remember the ego saying that I don't have time to move into this expansion now, maybe in the fall. But now it's summer and the kids are home and I've got plenty on my plate. And then I simmered in this piece of guidance for a couple of days. I allowed it to ruminate. I allowed it to just be. And after a couple of days, I realized that it was only the ego speaking. And the ego, of course, is that sense of not being enough, that sense of not having enough, from which fear, worry, and doubt, and hesitation, and procrastination, and all these thought forms arise. And this was the ego saying, it was the ego's attempt in trying to keep me here, keep me from growing, from expanding. And so obviously I said yes to the expansion, and I've begun to move in that direction, which is beautiful. I'm still trying to not figure out, but I'm still curious to see how Spirit will arrange this, because it means that I put more on my plate. As I'm expanding my service, it literally means that I have more things that I need to do or that I get to do. And I was just thinking about this morning, and the topic for today just popped into my mind, that as we are moving along this beautiful path, as we are continuously saying yes to the next great and grand version of who and what we are, as we're continuously allowing for that next great and grand version to emerge, as we're saying yes to midwifing the next stage of our unfoldment, it is never really about us, quote unquote, doing less. I mean, it is always being. Consciousness always precedes form. So it's not that we are engaging ourselves in a whole lot of doing, but as we are giving and sharing more and more of our gifts, more and more is required of us. more and more is required of us, because as we set ourselves free, as we begin to say more and more yes to that which Spirit is calling us into, the creative endeavors, the collaborations, whatever the case may be, as we're saying yes to that, more is required of us. We need to be the ever-expanding conduit for that which is seeking to emerge. We need to be the ever-expanding vehicle for that which is in the infinite to demonstrate and manifest itself here in this dimension. So this, I remember that there is a passage in scripture which kind of goes, birds have nests and foxes have holes, but there is no place for man to lay his head to rest, or something like that, something to that effect, which speaks to that we're always, once we enter onto this path, and once we come to grips with, once we begin to release and let go of the notion that I am not enough, and that I cannot do this, and I am too this, or I'm too that, or I'm not enough of this, and I am not enough of that, or I don't have enough, and all these ego excuses. Once we begin to heal these, we begin to move into a space of continuous yes. Like, I was having a conversation with an individual a few days ago, and this individual is being moved into an expansion, into an expanded space. And this individual was sharing that he was having a lot of doubts as to whether or not he could do it, if he had it in him to navigate through this space. So there comes a point when we have come into the realization that it's not us doing anything, first and foremost, but it is all Spirit. Like, the sunflower seed is not making the sunflower happen. The lilac seed is not making the lilac bush happen. The chick is not making the full-grown hen happen. The baby does not make the full-grown adult happen. But it is, we are in a state of emergence. We are not making anything happen so much as we are allowing it, making it welcome to happen in us and through us. The oak tree inherently is within the acorn. It's always been within the acorn. The potential for any particular oak tree has always existed in the infinite mind of God. Even before the acorn came into being, the potential for that particular oak tree existed. So it's not, we're not making anything happen, or we're not pulling anything from the world, as much as we are allowing it to emerge from within. And in that ever-expanding space and state of emergence, more and more is required of us. And I can remember, it wasn't that long ago, a number of years ago, when I thought my life was so busy. It was. I mean, that iteration, that version of me had his hands full. There was so much on his plate. Had I known back then what I'm able to carry, what I'm able to allow to flow through me now, I don't know how I would have responded. But what the amount of work that I'm doing now, and it's work in a sense, but the amount of creativity, that's perhaps a better word. The amount of creativity that is flowing through me now is making what I did a few years ago look like a very pale shadow. And even today, even now, this is only the beginning for me. This is, as a beautiful woman once said, she said, we're always at the beginning. We're always at the beginning of our next. No, she said, we're always at the bottom of our next stage. So who I am today, what I am today, is only a pale shadow of who I will be in some future moments. So we're in a continuous state and space of growing. And in that, and my God, there have been many times, and actually right now is one of these spaces, one of these times, when I would love to get some rest. I would absolutely love to be able to, like the fox, like the bird, just lay my head down and rest, chill out, just kick back for a couple of weeks. But there's always something going on. There's always inner work in terms of releasing and letting go of that which no longer serves. And as I continue to grow, there's no ending to that which is in need of being released and let go of. So there's inner work, and then there's work in the external, in the way I show up, in the way I speak to clients and allow for courses and content to emerge from within, to come into being. So there's always an expansion. And in that expansion, more is always required of us. And so I, even though I know that this is so, and even now as I am in that space of not desperately, but really, really wanting to get some rest, needing to get some rest. I know that this is the life that I've said yes to. This is the path that I've said yes to. And I also know it's been quite a while since this analogy came to me, but like an Olympic athlete, how they are training for the Olympics, and they have set their mind, they have set the intention to peak their performance at the Olympics, which is, I don't know, a couple of years from now or whatever. And in collaboration with their trainers and their coaches and other, collaborators, they have laid down a training structure, a very detailed one, with different emphasis as they're moving through different spaces and all of that. And if they are really serious about peaking their performance at the Olympics, they will stick to that program. They will not deviate just because they don't feel like it. They will not skip practice just because they're tired, but they'll just do it. And this is similar. And I'm not saying at all that we are to overwork ourselves. I'm not saying that we are to move ourselves into complete depletion. But what I am saying is that we are continuously being called into expansion. We're continuously being called to move outside of our comfort zones, move into the unknown, continuously called to release and let go of that which no longer serves, so that the new, the greater, the more expanded may emerge, may come through. And as that is coming through, so we catch the new, and there's obviously we need to say yes to it, and then there's the integration of that new, and then there's a stabilizing of that new, and in that state, and this is how it goes for me, in that stabilizing, even before it's stabilized, the next thing comes around. I'm being pulled into the next space of expansion, which I need to say yes to, which I need to integrate, and then the beginning of the stabilization begins. And even before the stabilization has been completed, I'm being pulled into the next thing. So And this is what I've said yes to, and this is what we are saying yes to as we're moving this path, moving along this path. This is not the path for the faint of heart. This is not the path for the weak-minded. And I know that that sounds like a judgment. It's not. But as I'm observing where us humans are, it's quite easy for me to just become aware that not all individuals are interested in doing this work. Not all of us are interested in doing this work of continuously releasing, letting go, continuously growing, expanding, unfolding. So I don't really know what the point was, what the point of this is, this talk, but I felt compelled to share it as it became very clear to me that more and more and more is always required of us. Yes. So that's simply our invitation to be aware of this and to say yes to it, because the rewards are magnificent. The rewards of continuously growing, expanding, unfolding, continuously allowing for that next great and grand version of who we are, they are so beautiful. They are so beautiful. So the invitation is to just say yes. A flying yes. Don't even stop and think about it. But let's just say yes from the beginning, from the get-go. As soon as we catch that piece of guidance or whatever the case may be, listen and obey now, as is the topic of another talk that I just recorded. All right, so this was it for today. Until we meet again, I absolutely bless your day, and I absolutely bless your way, knowing, feeling that all is well, something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for your highest good, for all of ours highest good. With much love, many blessings. Namaste.